Hey guys, this is Scott Horne with Horne of Associates PC. We're going to just take a minute and talk about a newfangled thing coming online, which are sellers credits and concessions that are coming out nowadays. So if you find this video helpful, guys, take a minute and like it, please. Make any comments, we'll do our best to get back to you on those. And don't forget to jump over and join our YouTube channel as well. So seller credits and concessions. Well, my gosh, you go back to 2010, 11, 12, bring it forward, you really didn't see almost any of that in that time frame. You go back before that, it was commonplace. We are now rolling back into that same scenario again, where sellers are now asking and or providing concessions. And really it's buyers asking sellers to give it to them. So what are some of those concessions that might be out there that they're doing? Maybe it's repair concessions. Maybe it's concessions to pay part of the closing costs. Keep in mind, sellers aren't going to be able to pay part of your down payment. And in all instances, you have to go back and look at what the lender for that buyer is going to accept also. They may have a maximum amount that can be afforded that way. Can a buyer elect to pay down their loan or their interest rate on their loan by paying extra fees up front? Maybe they pay 1 point of or 1% of their loan to get a 0.25% reduction in the interest rate, 2% to get a 0.5%, 4 points to get 1% more. Again, the mortgage company will dictate what they can or cannot do. And buyers are going to come in and they're going to ask sellers to give them this money. So all those kind of things can happen, as I said earlier, from repair credits and concessions to monetary concessions that go towards the loan but not the down payment. And we're seeing those resurrected in today's marketplace. So with that, can sellers do it? Answer is yes. And it's all going to work within the scope of the deal they're doing. You know, sometimes based on an appraisal, can the seller increase the sales price to cover those costs on behalf of the buyer? Yeah. Very simply put, maybe the buyer doesn't have the cash today in order to pay those, but they have the down payment or the other items that are needed by the mortgage company. If there's enough room in the transaction, and oftentimes if you do this in advance of the transaction, not after it's been done, where you know what the house value technically is, you can add this into the transaction. For instance, if the property is being sold for $100,000, maybe you're able to increase the sales price to $105,000, and the house will appraise for it. Oftentimes, when you have a property under contract for a certain price, it gives the appraiser a number to shoot for along the way. So if you start with a $105,000 sales price, then present that to the mortgage company, it's more likely it's going to happen. And then you can provide your buyer that $5,000 seller concession to apply to points to pay the loan down for the interest rate or to pay towards closing costs or other items of that nature. Doing it after the fact makes it really problematic and hard to deal with out there. But this is a coming thing that is out and in the marketplace right now. Sometimes, you know, you're selling the house for, let's just say, this $100,000 sales price, but the house, for whatever reason, only appraises for $95,000. Well, a lot of buyers go, well, in that case, I'm only going to pay you $95,000. Great. If you want to negotiate that down, go for it. On the other hand, if they really want your house, maybe the situation is well, we think the house is really worth $100,000, but the appraiser just can't appraise it at that price. And remember, an appraisal is nothing more than somebody's best guess at the value of that property, because a house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So could the seller then do a seller carryback meaning a second lien for that $5,000. Sure, they could, but that's going to be done with the lender's permission. Now, oftentimes the lender probably has very little issue with this so long as their loan balance and percentages are the same. What they're going to want to ensure of is that the buyer has the ability to make the payments for not only their mortgage, but also any interest payments or mortgage payments in regards to that second lien seller carryback loan. So there are many things just to think about and look at along the way regarding seller concessions. Now, there is a newfangled thing in the marketplace where sellers, let me back up, where the buyer, and in this instance it's going to be an investor buyer, is asking the seller to provide them a second lien mortgage after the investor has bought their home. So in other words, buyer and seller enter into a legitimate contract. The buyer goes out and obtains a mortgage. That mortgage could be a traditional mortgage. It could be a hard money loan. It could be a DSCR loan, any kind of loan. And after the transaction has closed and funded, they ask the seller to provide them a second lien on the property. Can you do that? Well, I believe the answer is yes, you can. It's just ensuring that it doesn't conflict with any lender requirements that the buyer may have. So I don't know if the buyer's lenders are going to source the down payment or not. Are they going to ask you to verify and validate? If they do, you need to be very, very cautious with those kind of issues and make sure things are being handled properly. But typically speaking, after a buyer has purchased a home from a seller and the deal has closed and funded, if after the fact a seller wants to provide the buyer a lien against that property or any other property for that fact, they can do it so long as you haven't violated the initial transaction. So those can be done too, but just make sure you think through those things properly, correctly. Make sure it's what you and the seller who's providing that second lien want to do. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful along the way, just about concessions and credits that can be out there. Now, there are certain lines you can cross with this. There are certain lines you can't cross with it. And it's okay to walk right up to it, but just don't overstep those bounds. Make sure that the mortgage company approves them from all perspectives. If you do that, I think you're good to go. So if you did, take a minute, guys, like the video, please. Don't forget to comment below. Come join us on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time.